Star Wars 7x7 episode 2099. Let's talk about The Mandalorian Season 2, shall we? Here's what's new since the last time we've updated the progress of the production. Punch it! Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod, and this is Star Wars 7x7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy. Thank you so much for joining me for it. And before we get into the Mandalorian Season 2 update, I just want to say thank you very much to everyone who had a kind word to say in between shaking their fists at me about the April Fool's episode that I did yesterday. I will say, it was something where I honestly wasn't sure whether it was the right thing to do it, considering what's going on in the world. And, I was looking at Twitter and seeing, all the arguments going back and forth about, this isn't the right time for April Fool's Day jokes, or maybe we should postpone April Fool's Day to August and call it August Fool's Day, or maybe we needed to do it just to keep up some semblance of normalcy in these crazy times. And it's mostly within that latter camp that I fell, that, I just felt like, let's at least remember that there's a part of our lives that enjoys this particular tradition. And additionally, the mission of the show has been to bring you a daily dose of Star Wars joy. And if I skipped doing that, then, well, shucks, that's kind of missing out on the mission of the show and the promise that I've given to you in delivering it to you. So there you go. Thank you again. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you haven't heard it yet, then I hope I haven't spoiled it for you. Anyway. All right, let's move on to Mandalorian Season 2. So since the last time we talked about it, which was around the Rosario Dawson, Ahsoka Tano rumors, I'm saying rumors because it still hasn't been officially confirmed by Disney or by Rosario Dawson herself or by representatives of Rosario Dawson. So it's, a pretty strong, this is likely going to happen, but still not officially confirmed. There are two other people, though, who have been, the confirmation word, it's still kind of a stretch. But what's been announced by Deadline Hollywood, and they generally tend to be pretty on with their announcements if they're reporting it before it's been announced by Disney officially. But Michael Biehn from The Terminator and other various movies, a frequent collaborator with James Cameron, is going to be joining the show allegedly as a bounty hunter from The Mandalorian's past. Who that could be? Anybody's guess. Also reported as returning by Deadline Hollywood is Bill Burr, who played the former Imperial sharpshooter Mayfield, who's now a mercenary, the guy infamous for that I wasn't a stormtrooper, wise guy. That whole crack about the accuracy of stormtroopers and so on and so forth. He's the guy who, as part of the crew in that episode, The Prisoner, betrayed the Mandalorian and for his trouble got trapped on that New Republic prison ship. So it'll be interesting to see how he has gotten out of that and what kind of trouble he's going to cause for the Mandalorian in Season 2. Now, not long after the Ahsoka Tano rumors got going, there was another rumor that started bubbling up, but it didn't get nearly the same amount of traction. It didn't get nearly the same kind of news outlet reporting that the Rosario Dawson news got. But there were some rumors, hints, speculations that Sabine Wren might also appear in Season 2 of The Mandalorian. And we talked about, the possibility of that here on the show. And I've been digging into that a little bit more, and I don't think, it still doesn't seem to hold the same credibility that the Ahsoka Tano rumors have held so far. It certainly makes sense to see her potentially there because, as we know, that the last time we saw Ahsoka and Sabine in the timeline, from a chronological standpoint, they were together, so it kind of makes sense to see them both together. And Sabine has an investment in the Darksaber as well, having wielded it herself for a time, so it's one of those situations where, as I looked at the Ahsoka Tano rumors versus the Sabine Wren rumors, it looks more like speculation on the Sabine Wren side of the house versus, actual, potential, leak spoiler situation for the Ahsoka Tano stuff. And there's been one more rumor that has kind of resurfaced again, and I'd say it still falls under the speculation category more than the rumor category, is the potential for the return of Boba Fett. Now, as far as we know, Boba Fett is dead inside the Sarlacc, and that, as they say, is that. If you don't recall us talking about this in the past, or you haven't been with me for long enough here on this show, the novels from the Aftermath trilogy by Chuck Wendig, in some of their in-between little sections, their little mini-stories, there's a guy named Cobb Vanth who gets a set of Mandalorian armor out of a sandcrawler, and it's pretty strongly suggested that this Mandalorian armor looks very much like the Boba Fett armor. So, yeah, that's another situation where, okay, does that mean that Boba Fett got out? Or does that mean that he was digested and the Sarlacc spit up the thing? The Sarlacc was heavily damaged with the explosion of the sail barge, but yeah, there's still a lot of outstanding questions, but what we do seem to think we know is that this guy Cobb Vanth, who became a sort of frontier sheriff on Tatooine, was wearing Mandalorian armor and quite possibly Boba Fett's Mandalorian armor. So if you think back to season 1 and the episode that took place on Tatooine, where at the very end you see somebody walking toward Fennec Shan's body, and you hear a little bit of a jingle, like a boot spur jingle. Like, that's supposed to be associated with Boba Fett, but doesn't necessarily mean it's him. It could also mean it's this guy Cobb Vanth as well, or it may just be, a complete, messing with us sort of situation that has nothing to do with anything. Ultimately, though, the Boba Fett business is probably about where the Sabine Wren business is as far as the credibility or the credulity of the rumor or the speculation at this point, so nothing yet. And that right there, I think, is about where we're going to leave things. It's really lucky, and we've talked about this on the show previously, that filming for season 2 of The Mandalorian was wrapped prior to things getting so bad with the coronavirus and, productions getting shut down. So, I don't know if this is for sure, but I imagine that post-production on the show could continue unabated, even in work-from-home situations. And I haven't heard anything about post-production for The Mandalorian being delayed or stopped as a result of what's going on with the pandemic. So hopefully that means that those fine folks working on the post-production are still gainfully employed and cranking out some awesome stuff. But we still have months to wait to find out for sure and see what they've been working on all this time. We talked about the reshoots thing too previously. I don't remember ever hearing anything about reshoots for season 1 of The Mandalorian, so yeah, it seems like it'll be a while before they can do reshoots for season 2 if it ever comes to that. But that right there is going to do it for our update on season 2 of The Mandalorian. What new news that we know so far, new speculation, and the veracity thereof, all that good stuff. And so that's going to do it for this episode of the show. Thank you so much for joining me for it, as always, and may the curve be flattening for you, wherever in the world you may be.
This podcast is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox. It is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other related Star Wars items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the force be with them. All original content is copyright 2019 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.